Hello, this is Josué Ledesma, and I am making a draft video. I don't see any of the events here. Should be there. But anyway, first I'd like to say thank you for all the feedback that I got from my last article. Um, you know, I decided to write that, and I thought it would provide some kind of context, or it seemed important to me, and I really like that people took the time to not only read it but comment on it. So thank you for that. Um, Quick little introduction of on what we're doing here. Basically, I don't want to only draft and show a video of how I play or how I draft because one, there's a lot of those out there. Uh, Two, I don't think my drafting style or play is necessarily unique or good enough for me to just put it out there just to be there. Um, Uh, so I decided to make this kind of um, a design and development uh, addition to my draft. So as I draft, I want to be talking about the design and development of the specific cards, of synergies, of limited environments, of all those things. And I think it's kind of like an experiment right now. Um, and I think it'll be good. I mean, sometimes I might just talk for a really long time while I'm making the pick, but I definitely want to be concise yet informative and kind of bring a different kind of insight to drafting. All right, here it is. So also what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be writing down the cards I'm gonna talk about too. So I plan on doing maybe 3 to 5 or however many drafts it takes for me to like get a large scope of the set in itself and try to talk about it without repeating myself too much. So I will be writing down like the cards and the topics that I have discussed and will discuss. So let's jump right in here. Um, and just a little, just so you know, if you're looking here and my time is way off, my clock is buggy on my computer, which is why this wasn't showing up at first. So just for that. Also, my F2 doesn't work, so I have to manually like click OK and stuff. But other than that, it should be fine. So let's get started. I'll come back as soon as the draft starts. Alright, and it's just about to fire, so let's get started. I like to make my card real big. Okay, so here we have a couple of good cards. We have a Johnny's Chosen, which I really think makes a lot more sense than it did in the beginning. I mean, there have always been these kind of like build around me enchantment cards, but now that we know that the new block, Theros, I forget the complete name, will be an enchantment block, so this kind of card um, feels will be more important in the future, either casually or constructed. Right now, there's still a bit of a sub theme of enchantments, um, but I don't think strong enough for me to take it. I'm actually leaning towards Shock or Messenger Drake, and I really love Messenger Drake. I mean, just dies and draws a card. But I think can't go wrong with Shock. Shock is pretty much your standard, somewhat underpowered 1 mana removal spell for red, deals 2 damage, and that's it. And I think that's okay. I think, there's like Burst Lightning that has Kicker, which is Shock plus. Galvanic Blast from Scars of Mirrodin is Shock and then does 4 if you have Metalcraft. So there are other cards, but, for the most part, I think Shock definitely gets the job done. Um, so here we have a choice between Dragon Egg, which I think is really cool and just like as a flavorful card. It reminds me of Rook Egg, or that, yeah, that when it dies, you get a 3/3 like flyer, but it was in white. This one's red, and you get a little mini dragon. Um, as for what I'm gonna pick, I'm actually looking at Archaeomancer because I really love that card. It just gives you so much value. 1/2's okay, it's not amazing, but if I can play some kind of like blue-red control, that's relying on spells and those kind of cards, uh, I'll go for it. All right, now here, not sure what I'm going to take here. Let me talk a little bit about Artificer's Hex, which is a really interesting design in terms of how does black interact with artifacts. And the reality is not very much. There's a Gate to Phyrexia, which I think is a Legends card, which lets you sacrifice a creature to destroy an artifact on upkeep only, and it's like the only black card that like does anything to your opponent's artifacts. And this one kind of gets rid of equipment, um, which is really cool, and it feels black. It doesn't say destroy target equipment, but basically that's what it does until the enchantment goes away. I think it's really cool. I think I'm gonna stick with blue here and just take a cancel. I mean, that I'm not happy about it, um, but I don't have much else. Here I think the pick is just your regular 3/3 for 3, 3/3 for 4 Canyon Minotaur. Just, you know, the epitome of average. The other red card, Cyclops Tyrant, much less impressed with. It's 6 mana for 3/4, which is not a great body. It has Intimidate, which can mean unblockable in certain situations. And right then and there, like if you just stop there, you're like, maybe I'll play it. You're not even happy about it because a 6-drop, a 3/4 6-drop, that's maybe unblockable is just not very impactful for a 6 mana spell. But it has this drawback that can't block creatures power 2 or less. So there can even be times where it doesn't even stabilize you, and that's the kind of card that really and you want your 6 mana spells to kind of just like come in and kind of just stabilize the board. Now here's a signal. You have Giant Spider, which is a really solid green common. Elvish Mystic, which is fights for the best green common, and then Enlarge, which, barring the art, which I think is a little fan servicey in terms of people love cats, so let's put a giant cat somewhere. This just seems like an amazing card. Target creature gets +7/+7 and gains trample until end of turn. It must be blocked this turn if able. This kind of the direction they're going with green now, being more combat oriented, but not in a just let me attack and attack and attack way, but in a way that promotes interaction and can act as like a removal spell as well. So here there's a Root Wallow, which is also a great green card. I think green's way open. So I'm probably just going to take this. Root Wallow is a great card. I love the design. It comes down as a 2/2 for 3, which is fine. But for the most part, it can attack unhindered because there are very few cards in the early to mid game that just outright trade with it, much less eat it if you activate it. So it attacks as a 4/4, or it threatens to be a 4/4, and then even late game it can trade for like a 6-drop or a 5-drop, which if your 3-drop trades for a 5 or a 6-drop, you're kind of winning. There's Hunt the Weak, which is more of the kind of card that I was talking to you about in terms of promoting interaction through creatures that doesn't always coincide with attacking or blocking or dealing damage to the opponent. So put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and that creature fights target creature you don't control. So it's like a pseudo removal spell that kind of gives you a a lasting presence, which is why it's 4 mana as opposed to 1 mana for Prey Upon, which is just a creature fights the other. Here, Giant Growth, again, like your average 1 mana spell. It's pretty strong, and it always has been. Even has seen some constructed play. 1 mana +3/+3 can mean 1 mana save your guy from combat, 1 mana your guy doesn't die from damage, 1 mana deal 3 extra damage, killing your opponent. There's a lot of flexibility for 1 line of text, which I really like. Alright, and here, I've seen kind of the dregs. 5 mana, 3/5. Fog. Actually, let's talk about Fog here. Fog is a card I don't really like. I used to love it. It's like, oh, it's like I gained all this life. But you never want to gain life unless it does something else. Basically, if this was a creature instead of a Fog, then you probably wouldn't have to Fog. That being said, it can be used in like very creature-centric matchups where that 1 extra turn of taking no damage lets you just alpha for the win. Or in a reverse situation, you can alpha and they'll make the blocks they need to so they can hit you back thinking they'll win the game. But then you Fog and then kind of just catch them with their pants down and then just alpha again on the next turn. Windstorm. Green traditionally hates flyers, and I think this is a great sideboard card against like a blue-white flyer deck or anything. So see again, like this 6 mana 3/4 is just like going last because it just doesn't do enough. Naturalize is Green's way of interacting with permanents that are not creatures. They're the best at destroying artifacts or enchantments. Let's see. Spinatar Abomination. So they're doing something different here with blacks creatures and kind of giving them more toughness than power to differentiate with red, because red is so much more aggressive. You'll have like 4/1s or 6/2s or something like that. I think the idea is in the right place. I'm not sure how much I like the execution of it. I mean, 4/6, like you could buy it, but you're not excited about it, if that makes sense. So we'll see what they do with that. Now there's a pack, and I think I'm gonna take this Shiv's Embrace. I actually almost forgot I was green, so I kind of just passed over these green cards. I don't have any Sliver, so I don't think I'm taking this Mana Weft Sliver. There's another Root Walla. There's a Voracious Worm, but it doesn't do enough. I might actually take a Root Walla, because I actually do really like it. I think it might be better. No, I think Shiv's Embrace. Shiv's Embrace, so basically it turns your creature into a dragon. Gets +2/+2 in flying, and then you can Fire Breathe. I think this kind of card is it's unique enough where something like Root Walla, it's not so easy to get, but I could get a 3 mana 2/2 or anything like that. So I think having this kind of unique effect is important to having your deck, just because if your deck is all guys, something like a 3/5 would stop a Root Walla. But if you put this on any other creature, then it kind of just flies over that card. Here I think I'm just gonna take another Giant Growth. The fact that it's 1 mana lets you curve out really well. These other cards are okay. This is what I'm talking about. So it's a 4/1, so it's very fragile, but it's very top heavy in terms of aggressiveness. So you really want to block it because you don't want to take 4. So that's kind of like they're like pushing red's aggressiveness. So I'm just gonna take the Giant Growth here. All right, here we go. Now we have a Volcanic Geyser, which is actually not as great as I thought it was. I mean, I used to love the card, especially in M13 where you could have like the Grixis kind of deck with multiple Archaeomancers and big mana spells. But honestly, it's not. It gives up power for flexibility, and by power I mean it's 3 mana, deal 1 damage, 2 mana, 2 damage, 3 mana, 3 damage. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It's 3 mana, 1 damage, 4 mana, 2 damage, 5 mana, 3 damage, and it just scales like that. So flexibility is there, but on whatever point you hit, it's not the best use of your mana. I mean, you need 4 mana to do to basically shock. So it's not amazing, but it is a good card to have. Here, there are some black cards here. Jeez. I think I'm just gonna take Academy Raider though. It's a pretty cool card, and it's again a shift into the kind of it's a shift in Red's color pie that makes it, you know, have some form of library manipulation that isn't exactly like draw 2 cards like divination. And it's also discard then draw instead of draw then discard, which actually just feels very different because your choices are limited. So it does actually feel more red than blue, which is pretty cool. So this being a 3-mana intimidate that also loots, you know, I like it a lot actually. Alright, so here we have, I would say, a choice between the Mystic and the Shortcutter, but it's really just the Mystic. Having 1 mana, um, 1 mana producer really lets you jump the curve. So, you know, turn 1 this, turn 2 Root Wallet, turn 3 Canyon Minotaur. Like, that's not amazing, but that's pretty good if you went first. It's kind of just like Time Walk because you have this extra mana that your opponent doesn't. Howl the Night Pack is also a card I really like, but I don't think this format is slow enough for that. And Goblin Shortcutter is a pretty good aggressive card, but I don't think it's as good as Elvish Mystic. So here we have Marauding Maulhorn. Again, pushes Red's aggressive nature. So you have a 4-mana 5/3. So it's pretty strong. You have a 4-mana 3/3, 4-mana 5/3 is like almost better in almost every way. But it does have this drawback that attacks each combat Fable unless you control a creature named Advocate of the Beast. We don't have any of those right now. But this isn't a drawback so much as other cards with drawbacks have. I mean, you play a 5/3 to attack with it, not to block with it. So there are definitely going to be some cases where you don't want to attack with it, but those cases aren't really as common as you'd think, especially if you have cards like Giant Growth or even Shock to make the double block not so much double block. So here we can talk about Rod of Ruin, and Rod of Ruin is an okay card. Really the problem is that it's slow, and I think it's best served in like a removal heavy deck that just wants to slow the game down to a crawl where everybody has like 7 mana and it's kind of like drawing off the top of your deck. And if you're both drawing lands and you're kind of just pinging them every turn and also nullifying their 1 toughness creatures, that's pretty good. That being said, you know, I have 2 of them right now and I'm not very happy about it. Alright, so here I have a choice between the Pitchburn Devils and the Marauding Maulhorn. I really like Pitchburn Devils. I love me some card advantage, and I really think, you know, trading this for a 3/3 or a 4/3 or even a 5/3 and then killing another creature, I think that's great. I think it's better than the Marauding Maulhorn for right now. I could easily be wrong, but I like having a little lasting effect. So here I could just take a bear, 2/2 for 2, or I could take this Dragon Egg, which is actually pretty good against ground creatures. But I think on the ground I'm fine. You know, I have 5/3, 4/4, cards like Hunt the Weak, Giant Shock, and I think I have no 2-drops right now. So I really think I need to be considerate of my curve. And pick up this card. So this card just gains X +1/+1 counters, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. It's pretty good in a white-green deck, because white has like incidental ways to gain life, like this card right here. 6 mana for 4/4, and then you pay 6 and it gains Vigilance, lifelink until end of turn. Again, this is a kind of card that matters when you have a late game and everybody has a lot of spells. Right now I'm just going to take a Disperse because I think that's the best card in the pack. Here, Seismic Stomp. This actually, like again, like I was saying, against the ground decks, I think I might be fine. But this is basically like the best against ground decks because they can't block, so you get alpha for the win. And if you're both kind of like, if I play against another red-green deck, I can imagine we'll have like a stalemate kind of board, and this really just breaks that open. So here I'm just gonna be picking cards because I only have like 15 seconds, and that's not a lot for me to talk about. So I'm just gonna take cards willy-nilly. I don't want to try to run through the discussion of cards. Yeah, so right now our deck is looking for a couple of cards to fill out the 2 and 3 drop. I definitely want more creatures because I don't have a lot. And I don't have that many playables either, now that I think about it. I think because we were in different colors in the beginning. Here, pick is an easy shock, I think. I like Mystic, but it's really hard to say no to a 1-mana removal spell. And if we get a Goblin Shortcutter, that'd be great. So what kind of card can we talk about? Let's talk about Path of Bravery because it's a rare, so it's not something we'll see a lot. So as long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, you gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. So it basically has like, if this is true, creatures you control get +1/+1, which is usually not a great kind of card, but the bottom part of the text allows you to fulfill that that requirement, as well as give you some kind of advantage in the long run. I don't know how good this card is in limited, but it seems pretty good. I did pass one. I don't know, I mean, I could be crazy for passing it, but I don't know, it didn't seem like something I'd be missing. So here's, we have Fog, which again, I've said I didn't like. 5/5 Trample for 7, which is not good. We used to have Enormous Baloth, which was 7/7 for 7, which I think is a little better than 5/5 for 5, because at this point, when you're playing a 7-mana spell, there's usually a lot of creatures on the board, so a 5/5 can just get double blocked by like 2/3/3s, and you're really not gaining anything. I'm going to take this Molten Birth. It's not great, but it's okay. It's like a 3-mana Dragon Fodder at worst, so get two 1/1s, which is okay. But if you flip a coin and return it to your hand, I think that's pretty good. I think basically buyback for free. I like it. I don't think it's bad. Here we have an Air Servant, which is pretty great. I don't know, I looked at that. I really like Air Servant. I'm just going to take this Rumbling Baloth. It's a vanilla creature, 4 mana, 4 for 4/4, which is fine. Our 4-drop looks stacked until we do this, and it doesn't look so bad. Does mess with our mana requirements though, because we have double red, and now we're picking up a double green. But there's really nothing else. Like, the best card for us would be Giant Growth, and we already have 2. I don't think we need another one. So this is a pretty good card, and again, it lets us curve out. You know, if we do turn 1, turn 2, then turn 3, that's a pretty good curve. Even just turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, that's pretty good curve too. So really, that's kind of all I want. I just want to curve out. Curve out while applying pressure and getting through my opponent's creatures either through shock or through cards like Giant Growth. Here my pick is Deadly Recluse, and I'll tell you why. One, we need another 2-drop. Again, we don't have any outside of these 2 cards, and this is not really a 2-drop because you're never going to play turn 2. But this card does a lot of things. One, it provides a pretty cool attacker. You just attack through whatever, or they could choose to block it. But it's also an amazing defensive card because Reach and Death Touch means it's very few cards that are going to get through it. That like 3/4 Intimidate at 6 mana, that'll get through it. The 3/2 Black Intimidate gets through it, but like no flyers get through it. And red-green decks really have trouble with flyers. So here there's a Spore Mound. Wow, this is an interesting card right here. So whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you'll get a 1/1 green Saproling. 5 mana for 3/3. We don't have many 5 mana spells. I would take it if there was a way. If there was a way for me to take advantage of the fact that I have a lot of 1/1s. And there's not. There's no like overrun. There's not even like an equipment I have right now that lets me kind of trade up my 1/1s for better cards. I'm really looking at Academy Raider or Dragon Egg. I think I'm going to take Dragon Egg. It could be wrong, but the upside of this dying and giving me a 2/2 flyer that fire breathes, I think is pretty strong. Like I said, I could easily be wrong, but I want to try it out. Here I could take Active Treason, Wild Guess. I would take Wild Guess here. So there's again like Academy Raider, you discard a card to draw 2 cards. I would take it here, except I don't like the double red. If it was 1 and a red, I would probably take it. But because it's not and it's double red, it's kind of just awkward. I think I'm going to take Active Treason. My deck seems somewhat aggressive. I really wish I had more creatures, but that's just how it came out. And I really think against other, big creature decks, this is a pretty good card. So here I could take a Spore Mound or a Canyon Minotaur. I'm actually going to take the Spore Mound this time. I could be wrong, but I also just want to play it and see what it's like. I have a lot of 4-drops, so having another 5-drop isn't the worst thing. Actually, I would take Hunt the Weak here, but I only have 10 creatures, and I really need more. 11, counting the Molten Birth. But I really do need more creatures here. Alright, so here's a Battle Sliver, which does absolutely nothing. So I think I'll just take an Academy Raider. I don't want another 5-drop. That's a 5/3. 5/3 doesn't seem that great. 3 power just seems very easy to come by. Now, I'll take an Academy Raider. Academy Raider is good when you just don't have cards to play. Like if I go up to 4-drop and then my opponent stabilizes and then I'm just drawing lands, I'm more likely to lose the game, and Academy Raider minimizes that, the risk of that, because I can just pitch my lands and draw more relevant spells. Here Goblin Shortcut is a very easy pick, mainly because it's 2-drop, but also has a relevant ability beyond the 2-drop, which is target creature can't block. So even like on turn 4, they play a card, hope to stabilize, or even just hope to stem the bleeding. Play this, guy can't block, my creatures attack freely, you're on the back foot even more. I think that's really good. Here, I think I'm going to take Sensory Deprivation. There's a pretty good 1-mana spell that deals with a creature offensively. I think it's okay. Sure, I'll take this. Could be a deck that... Whoa. Huh. Maybe I'm overvaluing this card. 3 Academy Raiders. I mean, it is a 3-mana 1/1. But it just has value beyond that. It's not just a 3-mana 1/1 in terms of body, yeah, but it does have relevant ability. So that actually helped out a lot, because I was lacking in playable since I was kind of like a little blue in the beginning. So this is probably going to be easy deck building. Alright, so, oh, look at that, for the mirror. Giant Growths, I like. Deadly Recluse, I like. I have a good amount of removal too. I have Volcanic Geyser and 2 Shocks, which is good. I wish my curve was lower so I could take advantage of the Shocks a bit more, but I can't. So this is 23. Could also play Rod of Ruin. Thing is, I think with 3 Academy Raiders, maybe that's too much. Yeah, that, I don't know. Maybe it's not too much. I mean, I could always pitch another Academy Raider to an Academy Raider. Yeah, I'm thinking of playing like a Rod of Ruin over it, but I don't want another 4-drop. Could play an Active Treason, but my deck is nowhere near that aggressive. I really wish I had more, like, if I had a curve that looked more like this. So these are my 2-drops and 3-drops, and then like a couple of 4-drops. That'd be great, because I can really make use of these 1-mana spells and kind of you know, play 2-drop, you know, shock something, play another 2-drop, or play 2-drop, play 3-drop, Giant Growth, and or shock something, then play another 3-drop, and just lets me get on the board much more aggressively. Really, I'm hoping to draw an Elvish Mystic like every game. That's really my goal here. So here's the deck. It's your standard red-green beats deck. You have some pretty okay big creatures, good on the curve, a little bit of lasting presence, ways to get through the board, break stalemates, removal and or finisher, though 2 damage isn't a lot. And then here's my, you know, big spell. One thing I will say is that X spells aren't that great with Academy Raider or any looting kind of ability, mostly because you're throwing away lands you deem useless for other spells. So ideally I want to stop at 5 mana or maybe 6 mana. So that makes this X equals 3 or 4. And for that reason, I'll also be holding lands in my hand because of Academy Raider, just so I have things to throw away. So let's add lands. It's just, this is probably good. 9/7. This is tough. Yeah, this is like my mana requirements. Kind of obnoxious. I really just want a Elvish Mystic, and I think by turn 3 I'll be able to have a mountain. And I have 2 green 2-drops as opposed to just 1 red 2-drop. So I think 9/4 is actually good. Alright, so submit. There's also a Swiss because it's pre-release. This is the only Swiss I'll do, and it's only because it's pre-release. So it'll let me talk a lot about, you know, different cards and situations and all these things. So I hope you enjoyed it. I spoke for a long time, 34 minutes, but I hope I'll get used to this and take less time to talk about things. So I'll see you for round 1.